Our 50 United States, each one a unique thread in the tapestry of America. And although each state is bound by the laws and structure of the federal government, each one is also self-governed by local assemblies and legislatures. Those groups meet in the 50 cities and towns designated as state capitals. A state capital is not always the largest or most populated city in a state. Capitals were often selected based on geographic location, but each one is as unique as the individual state it governs. How much do you know about our 50 state capitals? Well, we're about to find out. We'll give you the facts and pictures which will relate to one of the capitals. You'll then have a few seconds to answer the question, what capital is it? How many do you think you'll get right? Let's get started and find out. This city is one of the largest and most historically significant of all the state capitals. The seeds of independence from British rule were sown after a famous massacre took place here, followed by a notorious incident where patriots dressed as Indians dumped tea into the harbor. 16 historic sites are linked together through this city's Freedom Trail, which includes Paul Revere's house, the Old North Church, Faneuil Hall, and the USS Constitution. This city is also home to Harvard University and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. The college's rowing teams can often be seen in the Charles River, floating past Beacon Hill with its row homes and cobbled streets. The John F. Kennedy Library here honors the 35th president, who once called this city home. As the capital of Massachusetts, it's also known for lobsters, swan boats, and the colorful Harbor Fest celebration. What capital is it? It's Boston, Massachusetts. This city has the largest urban colony of bats nesting under its Congress Avenue Bridge. Located at Camp Maybury in this city is the headquarters for the Texas National Guard and the Texas Military Forces Museum. This one-of-a-kind museum features historical exhibits ranging from the Texas Revolution to present day. Another prominent museum located here is the Lyndon B. Johnson Library, which houses official documents and memorabilia of the 36th president. This city is also home to the Lady Bird Johnson National Wildflower Center, which has one of the largest rooftop rainwater collection systems in the country. Its collection of indigenous plants makes it a beautiful stop for both tourists and natives. This city is also the capital of Texas. What capital is it? It's Austin, Texas. This city is home to one of the world's largest children's museums. Often called the Crossroads of America, it's intersected by more interstate highway segments than any other metropolitan area in the U.S., and more than half of the nation's population lives within a day's drive. In the center of town, you'll find the Market Square Arena, where Elvis Presley gave his last performance. Also located downtown is a monument dedicated to the men who served on the U.S. naval vessel named after this city. Torpedoed just 2 weeks before the end of World War II, this ship suffered a tragic loss of 879 men. This city hosts the 2 largest single-day sporting events in the world, both held at the racetrack known as the Motor Speedway. And this city is the capital of Indiana. What capital is it? It's Indianapolis, Indiana. An historic landmark here is the Orpheum Theater, once considered the most luxurious playhouse west of the Mississippi. The city boasts the largest municipal park in the world. South Mountain Park covers more than 15,000 acres. This city is also home to the Heard Museum, featuring Native American artifacts, including one of the largest collections of Kachina dolls in the country. Located in the Sonoran Desert, this city is a popular golf destination. Just outside town, one can find the Apache Trail, which follows a trail once used by Apache Indians as a shortcut through nearby mountains. Today, it serves as Arizona's state capital, and its name is said to come from early settlers. They predicted that a great city would rise from its ancient Indian ruins, like the legendary bird that rose from its ashes. What capital is it? It's Phoenix, Arizona. Just outside this city is the largest open-pit copper mine in North America. One of the world's largest collections of genealogical records, the Family History Library, is located here. Every year, film lovers travel to this location for the Sundance Film Festival, an event showcasing the best in independent films. This city sits just east of the largest lake in the western United States, which also happens to be one of the saltiest lakes in the world. Founded in 1847, this city was first settled by a group of Mormon pioneers in what was then part of Mexico. In the heart of downtown is the historic Temple Square, featuring a majestic six-spire temple and a dome tabernacle, home to the world-famous Mormon Tabernacle Choir. This city also serves as the capital of Utah. What capital is it? It's Salt Lake City, Utah. This city was founded in 1867 and nicknamed Hell on Wheels. By the late 1800s, it was the wealthiest town per capita in the world. A spearhead for women's rights, the Territorial Assembly met here in 1869 and gave women the right to vote and hold public office. That almost cost the territory its chance for statehood, since no other state had granted women these rights. Located nearby is one of the oldest and most prestigious Western cattle operations, the Hereford Ranch. And if you're a rodeo fan, you'll know that the world's largest outdoor rodeo is held here during its Frontier Days celebration. With its Western heritage, it's appropriate that this city was named for a tribe of Plains Indians that once lived in the area. It's also the capital of Wyoming. What capital is it? It's Cheyenne, Wyoming. Overlooking this city is the National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific. Known as Punch Bowl Cemetery, it's the final resting place of thousands of American war veterans. The city's Capitol building has a unique design with twin volcano-shaped legislative chambers. Over half the couples that get married here are visitors, and instead of throwing confetti or rice at their weddings, this city offers a butterfly release. The only royal mansion under the American flag is located in this city, and it also served as a prison for a queen in 1893. Probably the city's most recognizable landmark is the extinct volcano Diamond Head. Hiking to the volcano's summit, one can explore the World War II gun bunkers located there. Each year, this city hosts the Hula Bowl and the NFL's Pro Bowl. What capital is it? It's Honolulu, Hawaii. This city was established in 1839 by John Sutter, a Swiss pioneer. 9 years later, gold was discovered, which brought fortune hunters by the thousands. Today, panning for gold is still a popular attraction. The western terminal of the first transcontinental railroad is located in a section of town that dates from the 1800s. This restored district preserves the city's historic character. The area's past also included flooding problems, so much so that residents raised the streets 12 feet. 1850 was a particularly disastrous year. A flood, fire, and cholera epidemic almost wiped out the entire town. In spite of these setbacks, the city survived, and in 1854 was named California's state capital. What capital is it? It's Sacramento, California. This city has the distinction of hosting some very unusual events, from a bulldog beauty contest to a winter miniature golf tournament held in the city's skywalk system. Located here is the Salisbury House, a mansion modeled after the King's House in Salisbury, England. The home contains authentic 16th century framework and includes rafters from an English inn where Shakespeare once performed. Another famous home is the Jordan House, a designated stopover on the Underground Railroad. The city also hosts one of the largest and oldest state fairs in the country, featuring a cow sculpted from butter. As Iowa's capital, the city boasts a state house with one of the nation's largest gold leaf domes and takes its name from the river on which it was built. French explorers called it La Rivière des Monesques. What capital is it? It's Des Moines, Iowa. An American Revolutionary War hero gave his name to this city. Maxwell Air Force Base, once home to the Wright Brothers Flight School, is located here, as are three of the Air Force's educational institutions: the Air University, the Senior NCO Academy, and the Extension Course Institute. This city was once called the Cradle of the Confederacy and was the first capital of the South. Confederate President Davis resided here when he sent the telegram that started the Civil War. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. made this city his home, and it was from here that he launched his crusade for equal rights. A monument to those who died in that struggle stands downtown. Lying on three hills in the south-central part of the state, this city is the capital of Alabama. What capital is it? It's Montgomery, Alabama. The westernmost battle of the Civil War raged across the Glorieta battlefield, located near this city. A fascinating aspect of the city is its architecture. The building codes are the strictest in the country and designed to preserve its history. Painters, sculptors, and writers have long found a haven here, forming one of the largest art centers in the United States. The city is surrounded by pueblos, Native American communities that are legally sovereign nations. The most prestigious Native American art show in the country is held here. The Indian market represents art from tribes across the nation. Two major historical trade routes linked up in this city. El Camino Real headed south into Mexico, while the other east-west trail took the city's name as its own. And it's the capital of New Mexico. What capital is it? It's Santa Fe, New Mexico. Landmarks in this city include the cottage of literary figure Harriet Beecher Stowe and the Victorian-style home of author and humorist Mark Twain. The Wadsworth Atheneum opened its doors here in 1842, making it America's oldest public art museum. This city's local newspaper is the oldest continuously published daily newspaper in the country. Often called the Insurance City, it's home to the headquarters of many insurance companies. Its reputation for reliability was earned in 1835 after a huge fire in New York when an insurance company bearing this city's name was one of the few firms to pay its claims. As the capital of Connecticut, its old State House is one of the nation's oldest, and its Capitol building is located near Bushnell Park, the oldest public park in America. What capital is it? It's Hartford, Connecticut. This city is a great location to see lots of wildlife. Sea lions, bald eagles, and whales can be seen in and around it. Also seen around town are totem poles, a reminder that the first inhabitants of the area were Native Americans. Surrounded by mountains and water, traveling to this city is a little difficult. It's the only state capital that has no road or rail links. Travelers must fly or take a ferry to get here. With 4 local harbors, it's definitely a seafaring town. It was also the first town founded in the territory after the U.S. bought it from Russia. This city is also known for its stunning views of the northern lights, and if you think there aren't enough hours in the day, there are up to 18 hours of daylight here in the summer, but in the winter, the shortest day has only 6 hours of daylight. What capital is it? It's Juneau, Alaska. Here you can relive exciting moments in gymnastics history at the International Gymnastics Hall of Fame. This city's 45th Infantry Division Museum has exhibits on the state's military history, as well as an intriguing display of items seized from Hitler's bunker in Berlin and his apartment in Munich. This city is also home to the National Cowboy Hall of Fame, and its cattle market is one of the largest in the world. The state capitol building here is one of the few without a dome, but it's the only one with a working oil well on the grounds. In 1889, this area was opened for homesteading, and 50,000 people lined up to race for a plot of land to call their own. Some snuck over the night before and became known as Sooners, a term that has become part of this city's heritage. What capital is it? It's Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. One of the many historic sites in this city is St. John's Church, where Patrick Henry is said to have delivered his immortal words, "Give me liberty or give me death." City founders named this settlement after a town in England. They cited the view of the James River Falls as being similar to a view of the River Thames. This city's Monument Avenue is described as one of America's most beautiful boulevards. It's lined with stately homes and dotted with statues and monuments. The Edgar Allan Poe Museum is located here, a tribute to the writer and poet who was educated in this city and lived here longer than any other place. Boasting a Capitol building designed by Thomas Jefferson, this city has been the capital of Virginia since 1780, but it also once served as the second capital of the Confederacy. What capital is it? It's Richmond, Virginia. This city was founded in 1864 when prospectors struck gold at a place they called Last Chance Gulch. Today, Last Chance Gulch is the main street and the center of the historic district. Even now, gold can be found in and around the area. Gold exploration eventually led to the discovery of sapphires in the region, and the mining of these gemstones continues today. Here, you can see one of the largest collections of Charles Russell artwork and enjoy a number of annual events, including the Last Chance Stampede and Fair, the start of a 500-mile dog sled race, or a bald eagle migration that occurs every November in nearby Glacier National Park. Originally a territorial capital, this city has been Montana's state capital since 1889. What capital is it? It's Helena, Montana. On the outskirts of this city, you'll find the Anderson Minnow Farm. At 6,000 acres, it's the largest in the world. Located in the city is the Garden of Exploration, a touch and scent garden designed for the blind. This city is also home to a giant sundial constructed of historic items, including a brick from Anne Frank's secret hiding place and a stone from the Great Wall of China. The old mill seen in the opening sequence of Gone with the Wind is actually located here and not in Georgia. Military artifacts can be found at the state's National Guard Museum. Another historic site here is Central High School. The school made headlines in 1957 when the governor tried to block integration efforts. Formerly known as Acropolis, it's the state capital of Arkansas. What capital is it? It's Little Rock, Arkansas. This city sprang up when the Northern Pacific Railway reached the east bank of the Missouri River in 1873. As an enticement to get German businessmen to invest in the railroad, the town was named for Germany's Iron Chancellor. In the 1870s, the Army established Camp Hancock and Fort Abraham Lincoln in the area to protect the railroad workers. General George Custer was stationed here before his death in the Battle of Little Bighorn. 72 years earlier, Lewis and Clark came through this area in their search for the Northwest Passage. It was here they met the young Indian woman, Sacagawea, who joined their expedition as an interpreter. The area's Native American heritage is still evident throughout the city. As the capital of North Dakota, its state capitol building is known as the skyscraper of the prairie. What capital is it? It's Bismarck, North Dakota. This city is situated on the west bank of the Hudson River. The Dutch established a fur trading post here in the early 1600s, which was taken over by the British in 1688. The settlement grew as Robert Fulton's steamboat began a run from here to New York City, then swelled further as the Erie Canal was completed in 1825, linking the city to Buffalo, New York. One of America's first railroad lines, an 11-mile stretch of track, was established here, and old railroad buildings in town now serve as a bank and the Department of Higher Education. Today, the downtown area is dominated by Empire State Plaza, a 100-acre complex that includes government buildings, museums, and a performing arts center known as the Egg due to its unusual architecture. With the State House designed in the style of a chateau, this city is also the capital of New York. What capital is it? It's Albany, New York. This city celebrates its 19th century rural and farming roots at a place called Ohio Village. In 1873, the Ohio Agriculture and Mechanical College opened here. It was later renamed Ohio State University and is a leader in the development of computers, copy machines, and medical research. This city continues to look to the future and is home to more than 150 high-tech companies. It's also well known for its love of the arts and natural beauty. The Franklin Park Conservatory was built here in 1895 in the style of London's Crystal Palace. Public art displays include the Field of Corn, featuring 109 6-foot-high ears of corn, and a topiary version of Seurat's famous painting, A Sunday Afternoon. As the capital of Ohio, it houses a full-scale replica of the Santa Maria, because this city was named after the man commonly credited with discovering America. What capital is it? It's Columbus, Ohio. This city is home to the Mississippi Agriculture and Forestry Museum, celebrating the history of southern farming, lumbering, and transportation. Included in the museum's 39-acre complex is the National Agriculture Aviation Museum and Hall of Fame, honoring the country's best crop duster pilots. The area developed from a small trading post called LeFleur's Bluff, offering supplies to travelers along the Natchez Trace. The Civil War was a turbulent time in the history of this city, which was burnt to the ground by General Sherman. It earned the name Chimneyville because of the dozens of brick chimneys left standing in the ruins. You can still tour the 1842 Governor's Mansion, one of the few buildings that survived the fire. It was used by Sherman and Ulysses Grant as a temporary headquarters. Named for our 7th president, known as Old Hickory, this city is the capital of Mississippi. What capital is it? It's Jackson, Mississippi. This city is located at the southern edge of Puget Sound, known for its abundance of Pacific Northwest wildlife. It was named for the range of beautiful mountains just north of the city, now a part of Olympic National Park. The scenic Highway 101 begins in this city and circles the Olympic Peninsula before heading south along the state's spectacular coastline. To the southeast of the city lie more dramatic landscapes, including Mount Rainier, a 14,000-foot dormant volcano, and Mount St. Helens, another volcano that wasn't so dormant in 1980 when it erupted, covering the city in a layer of ash. The Olympic Flight Museum at the airport contains an excellent collection of World War II aircraft and other vintage planes. As the capital of Washington State, this city's legislative building has one of the largest domes in the world. What capital is it? It's Olympia, Washington. This state capital can lay claim to Tarzan and the creature from the Black Lagoon. The beautiful Wakulla Springs, just south of the city, was used to film many jungle movies. Its crystal clear waters also compelled Ponce de Leon to proclaim the springs the Fountain of Youth in 1513. The region around this city is also known for its canopy roads and antebellum plantations. The Museum of History and Natural Science here has its own 55-acre wildlife habitat, so visitors can experience an up-close look at the area's animals. During the Civil War, this was the only southern capital not captured by the Union. A college located here offers one of the best circus training programs in the country, known as the FSU Flying High Circus. Located midway between St. Augustine and Pensacola, this city has been the capital of Florida since 1823. What capital is it? It's Tallahassee, Florida. This historic city has roots which date back to 1649. Originally called Anne Arundel Town, after the wife of Lord Baltimore, it's one of the oldest cities in America, chartered in 1708. The State House here is the only one in the country to have also been used as our national capital. The Continental Congress convened here after the Revolutionary War. The town is often called a museum without walls, since over 1,000 of its buildings date to before 1900. The waterfront area, known as City Dock, was once a center of trade with Britain and the West Indies, but is now home to sailing regattas and boat charter services. The U.S. Naval Academy was established here in 1845. Besides training new naval officers, the Academy also houses the crypt of John Paul Jones inside the school's impressive chapel. This city is also the capital of Maryland. What capital is it? It's Annapolis, Maryland. From 1788 to 1795, Daniel Boone lived just across the Kanawha River from the site where this city developed. In the 1760s, this area almost became the 14th colony and was to be called Vandalia. The plan never happened, but the idea is still celebrated here every Memorial Day during the Vandalia Gathering with Appalachian music and traditional food. The Midland Trail Scenic Highway begins in this city and runs through the nearby New River Gorge, one of the most scenic areas in the Mid-Atlantic region. This historic river is well known for whitewater sports. The New River Gorge Bridge, which spans 3,000 feet across the river, is the longest steel arch bridge in the United States. The city's skyline is graced by the golden dome of its Capitol building, proudly distinguishing the city as the capital of West Virginia. What capital is it? It's Charleston, West Virginia. When this city was designated a capital in 1847, it had only one log cabin and one sawmill. The area's industrial growth is credited to R.E. Olds, the namesake of Oldsmobile, whose horseless buggy was one of the first practical motor vehicles. By the early 1900s, this town became a leading producer of cars and gasoline engines. Automobile manufacturing is still one of the biggest industries in the area. The history of automobiles can be explored at the local Transportation Museum. The building is one of many attractions located along an 8-mile boardwalk that winds along the Grand River through this city's downtown. A fish ladder allows salmon to migrate up the river past the city's dam. This area is also the home of Michigan State University, and the Capitol building is the seat of power for the state of Michigan. What capital is it? It's Lansing, Michigan. This quaint town has the distinction of being the nation's smallest state capital. With a population of less than 10,000 people, it sits in the tranquil hills of the Green Mountains. It was the birthplace of Admiral George Dewey, the hero of Manila Bay during the Spanish-American War. For more than 100 years, the area's main industry has been the quarrying of granite. Located nearby is the Rock of Ages Quarry, one of the largest granite pits in the world. Begun in 1885, this quarry is now 550 feet deep and covers 55 acres. Granite from this quarry is renowned for its quality and has been used in thousands of monuments and buildings around the world. The area is also known for its maple syrup, much of which is produced at the Morse Farm Sugar Works just north of here. Since 1805, this town has also been the capital of Vermont. What capital is it? It's Montpelier, Vermont. This city is one of the largest ports in the nation, although it's not located on a coastline. It's 100 miles up the Mississippi River. American forces captured the city from the British in the only Revolutionary War battle fought outside the original 13 colonies. And during the Civil War, it had to cease functioning as the state capital since it was occupied by Union forces. The original state capitol building was a Gothic revival castle. In 1932, a new 34-story capitol was opened. At 450 feet high, it has the distinction of being the tallest state capitol building in America. This city sits next to a 1.5 million acre swamp, and some of the most picturesque antebellum homes in the country are nearby. Known for its Cajun and Creole dishes, this city serves as the capital of Louisiana. What capital is it? It's Baton Rouge, Louisiana. This city was founded by separatist minister Roger Williams after he fled Plymouth County in 1636. He was given land near a sea cove by Narragansett Indians, where he established the town as a haven for religious nonconformists. The religious roots of this city are evident in its name, as well as the many churches, including the First Baptist Church in America, built in 1775. A section of this town along Benefit Street is known as the Mile of History because of the large number of restored colonial homes. And the houses along the nearby coastline are some of the most impressive mansions in the country. This city's water fire celebration from May through October is a dramatic artistic display that lights up the three rivers which run through downtown. Home to Brown University, this city is also the capital of Rhode Island. What capital is it? It's Providence, Rhode Island. This city was founded in 1854 when 9 anti-slavery settlers met where the Oregon Trail crossed the Kansas River. It became the state capital 7 years later as the railroad expanded its track westward right through the town. Civil rights played a major role in the town's development, from the famous battles between the abolitionists and pro-slavery forces to 100 years later when the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in favor of desegregation in this city's public schools. The First Presbyterian Church here has 10 stained glass windows designed in 1911 by Louis Tiffany. And the city also boasts one of the oldest carousels in the country, built in 1908 and still operating at Gage Park. The lawn in front of the State House in this Kansas capital is a popular lunch spot on warm summer afternoons. What capital is it? It's Topeka, Kansas. This city is the largest commercial, industrial, and financial center in the Southeast. It started in 1837 as a railroad surveyor's stake in a pine clearing. Over the years, it grew into an important railway center and became the Confederate arsenal during the Civil War. But that war brought destruction to the city when General Sherman reduced it to a smoking ruin during his march to the sea. This historic event is depicted in a famous scene from Gone with the Wind, which was written by Margaret Mitchell, a local writer who was buried in this city's Oakland Cemetery. A colossal monument to the Confederate leaders can be seen at the nearby Stone Mountain. Today, this vibrant city is home to CNN, the Jimmy Carter Library, and the Martin Luther King Jr. National Historic Site, which features his church, home, and gravesite. This city is also the capital of Georgia. What capital is it? It's Atlanta, Georgia. You can raft or tube from one end of town to the other, down the river which is named for this city. The area is also known for whitewater sports, skiing, and hot air ballooning. The largest concentration of Basques in America settled here. Early pioneers brought the Basques from their homeland in northern Spain because of their skill as sheep herders. The old Idaho Penitentiary is located here. It was built in 1870 as the Territorial Prison. Nearby Table Rock, once used as a lookout point by American Indians, provides a beautiful overview of the region. From this point, it's easy to see how the city got its name, which means wooded. French-Canadian fur trappers were grateful to see a forest after crossing the arid plain. Founded in 1863, this city is the capital of Idaho. What capital is it? It's Boise, Idaho. This city grew from a small trading post called the Eagle Valley Station, and in 1858 was renamed for a famous Western frontier scout. The success of silver mines in the area helped bring prosperity to the town in the late 1800s. So much silver was taken from the nearby Comstock lode that the federal government established a mint here in 1869 to coin the silver. The mint stopped pressing coins in 1893, and the building is now the Nevada State Museum, with a ghost town and silver mine exhibit alongside the original mint press. One of the best railroad museums in the West is also located here, containing more than 60 vintage engines and train cars. Just west of town is the beautiful Lake Tahoe with its sapphire blue waters. This city has served as the capital of Nevada since 1864. What capital is it? It's Carson City, Nevada. The National Museum of Roller Skating can be found in this city, along with a 20-foot statue of an Indian sending smoke signals in Pioneers Park. Football is king here. When the Cornhuskers play, the local Memorial Stadium becomes the third largest populated area in Nebraska. The city's historic Haymarket District is a model of urban redevelopment and houses dozens of shops and restaurants. Originally called Lancaster, this town had a population of only 30 when it was named Nebraska's state capital in 1867. The small community had a hard time shaking its image as a wild frontier town. It saw hard times through the 1870s, especially when an invasion of grasshoppers caused many early settlers to move back east. But prominent early residents like Congressman William Jennings Bryan and military leader General John J. Pershing helped pull the community through. What capital is it? It's Lincoln, Nebraska. This city is one of the few in the world built on an isthmus. It spreads across a narrow strip of land between Lake Monona and Lake Mendota. The original town was laid out by land speculator James Doty. In 1836, his plan was approved as the new state capital, and the city was named for our fourth president, who had died earlier that year. The city contains a Thai pavilion, a gift from the government of Thailand and the only one like it in the United States. Just west of the city is the Cave of the Mounds, a series of caverns uncovered while blasting a quarry. The downtown streets here are named for the 39 signers of the U.S. Constitution. And the tallest building on those streets is the state capitol. By law, no building constructed in this city could ever rise higher than its 284-foot dome, which proudly marks this city as the capital of Wisconsin. What capital is it? It's Madison, Wisconsin. This city grew from a small trading post established in 1628 by John Alden and Miles Standish of the Plymouth Colony. The Kennebec River flows through the town, which sits in a natural migration and trade corridor between Quebec City and the Atlantic Ocean. This key position was strengthened during the French and Indian Wars when Fort Western was erected. This stronghold still stands in the city and is the oldest surviving wooden fort in America. The main state museum located here features a dramatic display of glass objects and windows from the 1600s to the 1900s. The governor's mansion, known as Blaine House, was built in 1833, and the nearby State House, designed by noted architect Charles Bulfinch, was completed in 1832, 5 years after this city became the capital of Maine. What capital is it? It's Augusta, Maine. This city developed in two distinct phases on opposite sides of a river. The north section grew shortly after the city's founding in 1786. The south portion developed after the new Capitol building was built there in 1910. Spanning the river is a 100-year-old bridge called the Singing Bridge because car tires on its metal grating sound like choir voices. The city is supported by key local industries that include tobacco, corn, horse breeding, and bourbon distilleries. The Vietnam Veterans Memorial here features a giant sundial that throws its shadow on each veteran's name on the anniversary of his or her death. Daniel Boone and his wife Rebecca are buried in this city's downtown cemetery. Serving as Kentucky's capital since 1792, this city is located in the heart of bluegrass country. What capital is it? It's Frankfort, Kentucky. This city sits 50 miles from one of the most dramatic coastlines in America. The rich soil and open land here give rise to hundreds of gardens and a flourishing plant and flower industry. The largest grower of iris in the world is located on a 200-acre farm near this city. The Enchanted Forest, a site featuring storybook characters and a recreated mining town, is located here, along with Silver Falls State Park with its 10 delicate waterfalls. The city was founded by a missionary, Jason Lee, in 1841. His restored home and other 19th century buildings can be found at Mission Mill Village. Restoration has also brought new life to the historic Elsinore Theater, a Tudor-style playhouse built in 1926. Rather than a dome, this state's Capitol building is topped by a 23-foot statue honoring Oregon's early pioneers. What capital is it? It's Salem, Oregon. Sitting on the banks of the Missouri River, this is the second smallest capital city in the nation. The railroad bridge over the river was one of the first drawbridges in the country. One section slid sideways to allow paddle wheelers to pass. The first schoolhouse, built in 1881, still stands here, and amazingly, there are still 7 one-room schoolhouses in operation within a 100-mile radius of this city. The nearby Oahe Dam is one of the largest rolled earth dams in the world. The lake created behind the dam has 2,250 miles of shoreline, more than the coast of California. On the grounds of the Capitol building is an unusual flaming fountain memorial. The water has such a high concentration of natural gas that it burns. This city is also the capital of South Dakota. What capital is it? It's Pierre, South Dakota. This city was founded in 1792 and named for the famous Englishman who attempted to establish the first English settlement in the New World. The city was built on land purchased from a Revolutionary War colonel and tavern keeper named Joel Lane. His original home, built here in the 1770s, is thought to be the oldest existing dwelling in the country. Another old home, the Governor's Mansion, is one of the best examples of Queen Anne cottage-style architecture in America. This city is also known for its museums. It has the largest natural history museum in the Southeast, and it's also home to the first state-supported art museum and symphony orchestra in the country. The Capitol building here contains an unusual statue of George Washington dressed as a Roman general. As part of the area's famous Research Triangle, this city is also the capital of North Carolina. What capital is it? It's Raleigh, North Carolina. This city was settled in 1679 at the highest point a boat could travel on the Delaware River. In 1776, that river played a key role in the city's history. One of the most famous battles of the Revolutionary War was fought here after General George Washington crossed the Delaware River and surprised the Hessian garrison that occupied this city for the British. Taking 1,000 prisoners, it was Washington's first victory in the war for independence. You can still visit the old Hessian barracks and Washington's crossing site on the river 8 miles north. The company that designed the Golden Gate Bridge is based here. John A. Roebling and Sons made a name for themselves by designing and building the Brooklyn Bridge in 1883. The city also became a pottery center after the Civil War and has served as the capital of New Jersey since 1790. What capital is it? It's Trenton, New Jersey. This town's original name was Pig's Eye, until a pioneer priest built a chapel to his patron saint and renamed the town. Through the 1800s, the town grew as a steamboat terminal at the northern end of the Mississippi River. Across the river, its sister city was also growing as a major industrial center. Both of the towns developed near Fort Snelling, the northernmost military outpost in the early 1800s. The restored limestone fort can still be visited today. While gangsters like Ma Barker and John Dillinger visited speakeasies in caves underneath the city, above ground, an area rich in culture and European architecture was beginning to emerge. This city's Winter Carnival, one of the biggest winter festivals in the country, is best known for its amazing ice sculptures. As capital of Minnesota, this city's Capitol building boasts one of the tallest marble domes in the world. What capital is it? It's St. Paul, Minnesota. A style of coach that's named for this town was developed here in the early 1800s. Its revolutionary shock-absorbing springs helped to open up the West as companies like Wells Fargo added the new coaches to their fleet. The nearby Canterbury Shaker Village, founded in 1792, is one of the most important Shaker communities in America. Members of this religious colony are best known for hand-making graceful furniture and fine tools. President Franklin Pierce is buried here. He lived in this town from 1842 to 1849, enjoying the area's beautiful fall foliage, quaint country roads, and classic New England scenery. The Capitol building, opened in 1819, is one of the oldest state houses still in use in America. The city has served as the capital of New Hampshire since 1808. What capital is it? It's Concord, New Hampshire. This town was started as a trading post more than 100 years before it was selected as a state capital. The Paxton Presbyterian Church here was built in 1740, making it one of the oldest churches in America. The adjoining cemetery contains the graves of many Revolutionary War heroes. The Susquehanna River runs through the middle of town, and the main park is located on an island in the middle of the river. This is the home of the National Fire Museum and the National Civil War Museum, which is appropriate since this city isn't far from the Gettysburg battlefield. Also nearby is Hershey, Pennsylvania, home of the classic amusement park and the massive chocolate factory. As the capital of Pennsylvania, this city's Capitol building is set in a 13-acre park and contains a marble grand staircase designed after the one in the Paris Opera House. What capital is it? It's Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. This city was designated a capital in 1786 by an act of the legislature which moved the seat of government here from Charleston. This southern town was decimated during the Civil War when Union General William T. Sherman attacked the city in 1865 and burned most of it to the ground. 6 bronze stars on the State House mark where Union cannonballs struck the building. More than 50 years before the Civil War, the University of South Carolina opened here. The oldest part of the campus, known as the Horseshoe, is still in use today. Fort Jackson, the largest Army training camp in the country, is located here and graduates hundreds of new soldiers every week. Also known for its southern charm and Copper Dome State House, this city is the capital of South Carolina. What capital is it? It's Columbia, South Carolina. In 1776, Continental Congress delegate Caesar Rodney rode 80 miles from this city to Philadelphia and arrived just in time to cast the deciding vote for independence from British rule. The following year, local representatives gathered at the Golden Fleece Tavern here and became the first to ratify the new Constitution. The event is commemorated in Constitution Park, next to the tavern. Early legislators met in the Old State House on a town green designed by William Penn. In 1933, a new legislative hall was built with 18th century handmade bricks to retain the historic look of downtown. The governor's residence here, known as Woodburn, was once a stop on the Underground Railroad. This city was also home to E.R. Johnson, the founder of the Victrola Talking Machine Company, and it's the capital of Delaware. What capital is it? It's Dover, Delaware. Built beside the Cumberland River, this city was a key trade and transportation center in the 18th and 19th centuries. The town's devotion to the arts began in the early 1800s, when it was dubbed the Athens of the South. Greek Revival architecture is evident everywhere, especially in the Parthenon, an exact replica of the Greek temple which houses the city's art collection. The Hermitage, Andrew Jackson's estate home, can be found here, as can Vanderbilt University. But the area is best known as Music City, USA. Recording studios and country music venues are everywhere. Two of the city's key music sites are the Country Music Hall of Fame and the Grand Ole Opry, home of the longest-running radio program in the country. They've not missed a broadcast since 1925. This city is also the capital of Tennessee. What capital is it? It's Nashville, Tennessee. There are a number of notable homes in this city. The Dana Thomas House, remodeled in 1902 by Frank Lloyd Wright, is a fine example of his prairie-style design. The Governor's Mansion, built in 1855, is one of the oldest executive mansions in America. But the most notable home belonged to this city's most famous resident. Abraham Lincoln lived here for 17 years. He opened his law practice in this town and is buried here in the Oak Ridge Cemetery. The 4-block area around his home is a preserved historic site with gas lamps and wooden sidewalks. After his assassination, Lincoln's body lay in state at the old Capitol building here, which was replaced in 1877 by the new Capitol, one of the tallest buildings in central Illinois. This city didn't even exist when the area became a state in 1818, but it grew to become Illinois' capital 19 years later. What capital is it? It's Springfield, Illinois. This city is home to Lincoln University, which was established in 1866 to educate slaves who were set free by the Emancipation Proclamation. The Missouri-Kansas-Texas Railroad line, which once ran through here, is now part of a 225-mile hiking and biking trail. 3 interesting museums call this city home. One is dedicated to veterinary medicine, another to the state's military history, and the Highway Patrol Museum, which features a talking car that greets 14,000 visitors each year. The city's 2 original Capitol buildings were destroyed by fire. The current Capitol, built in 1918 on a bluff overlooking the Missouri River, resembles the Capitol in Washington, D.C. This city, named for our 3rd U.S. president, is the capital of Missouri. What capital is it? It's Jefferson City, Missouri. Located in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains, this city has a series of beautiful mountain parks linked by a 100-mile highway system. The original town was born to support the miners that came west for the Colorado Gold Rush of 1858. It grew rapidly once the railroad linked the remote area to the rest of the country. The Larimer Square Historic District in downtown resembles the way the town looked in the 1880s. Today, this city is home to one of 2 major U.S. mints in the country, as well as the popular Red Rocks Amphitheater, built into the sandstone formations just west of the city. Because of its elevation, this city is known as the Mile High City, and it's also the capital of Colorado. In fact, the 18th step leading to the Capitol building measures exactly 1 mile above sea level. What capital is it? It's Denver, Colorado. Well, there you have it. How did you do? Were you surprised that New York City is not the capital of New York? Or that Philadelphia is not the capital of Pennsylvania? I'll bet you know a lot more about our 50 state capitals now than you did an hour ago. We hope you've enjoyed the State Capitals quiz. If you'd like to learn more about our 50 states, be sure to look for the Great American State Quiz and other titles in the Just the Facts series. Remember, learning can be fun.